Welcome to Around the Gospel, a weekly conversation about the gospel reading for the coming Sunday. Join Deacon Leila Quinlan and the clergy of Christ Episcopal Church as they explore the Scripture and reflect on what it has to say today. Listen along, reflect with us, and come around the gospel.
Friends, we want to welcome you to Around the Gospel, our weekly podcast. And once again, we are in Matthew, and today I have with me Father Michael Ellis and Father Tom Reeder. Welcome to both of you.
Hello. Sure.
So let's start by reading the Gospel so everybody is on the same page. This is Matthew 16, 21 through 28. Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and undergo great suffering at the hands of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, God forbid it, Lord, this must never happen to you. But he turned and said to Peter, Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, for you are setting your mind not on divine things, but on human things. Then Jesus told his disciples, If any want to become my followers, let them deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For those who want to save their life will lose it, and those who lose their life for my sake will find it. For what will it profit them if they gain the whole world but forfeit their life? Or what will they give in return for their life? For the Son of Man is to come with his angels in the glory of his Father, and then he will repay everyone for what has been done. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. The Gospel of the Lord. So, this is a really interesting gospel, I think. And one of the things that interests me is that just a few verses before this, Peter is given the keys to the kingdom and told that he's the rock.
Yeah.
And here Jesus is saying, get behind me. You're not understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
So let's start there.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that because, as you know, I'm a big fan of context and not just starting at the start, but maybe going back at least a few verses for people to know where we are in the story.
Right.
And so I'm glad that you did, and it's not lost on me that, and probably most of the listeners that what Matthew or Jesus is doing is, with the rock. And stumbling block, those words are not incidental. He's making a point with physical things, or the idea of a physical thing. And so to say in one sentence, you're the rock, and then a few minutes later to say, never mind, you're not only are you not the rock, but you are a stumbling block. It's very important for them, for anybody, to put those things together, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and it doesn't end there, because the next part of the gospel is the transfiguration, and Peter does it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
So he just sort of, and we've been, even the other readings prior to this, we just see Peter kind of stepping out boldly, but this is where I really find the good news, though, is that, and I'm one of the big emphases I have is understanding development, personal development, human development, spiritual development, consciousness development, all those things, that there's a sequence to them,
right?
And it's a predictable sequence, and that Jesus, fortunately, as he did with Peter, and does with us, is he saw the potential where this can go, and so when he calls him the rock, it's not it's not really just almost prophetic. This is who you will be.
Yes.
And then all around it's not looking like that
Yeah.
yet.
And how often have people spoken something over us or to us that is kind of prophetic about what our future might look like or what we might become, and we really do not see it or are not really aware of it at the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's really an important thing.
Yeah, I love when Jesus calls Peter the key. He'll get the key to the the keys to the kingdom. And one of the things I love about Peter, not just in this instance, but just in general, he's so human and so like me or any of us. And when I see Peter having the keys to the kingdom, and then seeing him lose the keys, it's a metaphor for my life and the number of times that I lose the keys as well.
I mean, the thing I really think that Peter signals to us. I mean, just go a couple of weeks back when he gets out of the boat and immediately sinks, right?
Yeah.
But he's doing stuff,
Right.
Yes.
It's that whole thing of you can turn a ship more gradually than I mean, if it's moving, rather than a dead still. So that he's moving, and so I really do believe that, and that's our spiritual development, our errors and our failures are just as valuable, maybe more valuable than getting it all right.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about Peter and why he ends up being the rock, because he's having spiritual experiences that shape him into who he's going to be. And if he's doing nothing and playing it safe, he's not going to get there.
Yeah.
And nor are we.
Right. And we have that choice, at least I feel like. There are many of those choices every day. Am I going to play it safe, or am I going to step out in faith and take a risk no matter what might happen?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can we talk a little bit about the fact that he says, "Get behind me, Satan"?
Yeah.
Because as I was looking at this, and when I was younger, it used to disturb me greatly that Jesus called him Satan.
Yeah.
Now I understand it not as a man in red with horns, but more as the word meaning adversary.
Mm-hmm.
So in that moment, since Peter did not see the big picture, it seems that he was, like you said, a stumbling block to what the plan really was.
Yeah, I think it's challenging, whether we're preaching or leading people to Christ, that this idea that there's as you say, a Satan, like a devil, and I'm not trying to make light of any of that, but in this particular case, I think you're probably right that he's not talking about the person or the personification of evil that we almost always default to in our understanding. He's talking about, I think, exactly what you said, that the word Satan means it can have meaning with regard to a court of law, and that what do you call it? A prosecuting attorney. And I think that's the meaning that he's going for in this particular case. We can go way down into a rabbit hole with regard to Satan and
Dante, and
all of that, if you like. And how long is the podcast? But
that has to be a separate one.
Yeah,
I think.
right. Yeah.
Well, and two, back to context. The disciples are still sorting out what Jesus is saying about how he's going to accomplish the kingdom. And they still have that Jewish mindset that everybody else has, is that the Messiah is going to be the military leader, and he's going to come in, and we're going to go to Jerusalem and pick up all these other people, and they're going to go in and take the temple back. And, so when Jesus says, I've got to go there and I'm going to, be tortured and die.
Yeah.
But and they're thinking a dead Messiah is no Messiah,
right?
Exactly.
And we know the end of the story. They didn't know the end of the story, and so it makes some sense in that context, because they still haven't made the shift over,
right?
Yeah.
And so Peter's saying, "Yeah, that can't happen if you're going to be the true Messiah,
right?"
And Jesus says, "Well, it can happen, and it will happen,
yeah,
and you'll see it when the angels." And the glory comes, the glory of the Father comes, which he says at the end of this reading, which really is not about the future now.
It's about the transfiguration,
the resurrection. It's going to be that beginning.
Yeah.
But we had the benefit of that. They didn't have the benefit of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So,
it's really a struggle when you don't see the big picture.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if either of you have a thought on how it is in our everyday life that we can shift a little bit more towards the macro than when I think about my life in micro terms and my faith in micro terms, I get really into the details, which may not be that important. If I go into the big picture, or try to, then all of a sudden I have a different perspective. Can either of you speak to that?
Maybe. Maybe. You have to say a little bit more about your understanding of the micro and the macro in your life. You're talking about sort of zooming out and saying that what we're talking about is not just me, and that my faith is not just me and Jesus, but it's something bigger, and that kind of like what I say sometimes from the pulpit is that Christianity is a team sport, and that we sometimes, especially I think in our culture, we think, well, it's just me and my buddy Jesus, and that's enough. And in some sense, it is, but in an important way, Jesus came to call people into a community of love, and that's really important for us to remember every day. And I think we do a pretty good job at it. But all around us, other parts of the Christian family tree, you can get a different message, and so it's really important for us, I think, to do what I think you are recommending is. Remember that we're a part of a gigantic family, and that we're in a community. And my personal relationship with Jesus is solid gold and so important, but we can't do this on our own, right? It's really hard. This is one of the challenges with the pandemic, is that it's really hard to be a Christian all by yourself. Yeah. Right? The incarnation really compels us into community. And I know there's exceptions, right? The desert fathers and mothers, for instance, who, wanted to be all by themselves. And
yet people came out to them.
Exactly.
They couldn't stay by themselves very long.
Yeah.
Well, I hardly agree with what you say. The communities, but to come back to the personal too, and the growth aspect there. Again, when you look at development of spiritual development, human development, I think there's a movement that can take place if we go far enough to go from being a happy person to a joyful person. And we always think that that's the same thing. It's really not.
No, it's
because
not.
To be happy is dependent on happenings. So if the happenings are going well, then we're happy. But there's a place beyond that is joy. That's a deep residential place. So, I think of some of the Christians who've been in prison for a very long time, and they were like Watchman Nee. He has such joy. Decades of imprisonment. There's all this joy flowing out of his writings. He couldn't even stand up in his cell. It wasn't even big enough to do that, and that's something residential. It had nothing to do. The happenings were not good.
Yeah,
and so I think that can overcome that, so that we're not thrown off when things are happening.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's as though we have this, airliner. We're all on an airliner. It's going to San Francisco, and it's going to arrive. And it may go badly with individuals among. It may go really well, but it's going to arrive. And so I think that if we can get to that place, that's a place of joy.
Yeah.
And no matter what goes on, God's kingdom is already underway.
Yeah.
And it will be completed, and nothing's going to stop that. And so we can, be in that place of joy, I think.
Mm-hmm. When do you think, I remember distinctly when somebody brought up that difference in joy and happiness to me. I was in college. It was a Bible study teacher, and he said in front of a large group of people, Leila, what do you think is the difference between joy and happiness? And what I was able to say at that point was, I think that joy abides and that happiness comes and goes.
Yes.
So when
you said that when you were a kid?
That's good.
College. I was in college.
Well done.
Yes, thank you.
What college did you go to?
Georgia. I was also riding the fence, though, where Jesus says, don't be hot, or whoever says it, don't be hot or cold.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was
don't
Paul.
be in,
Paul.
Don't be in the middle. Yeah, be hot or cold. But so I was also fence riding at that time too.
It was one of your better moments.
Yeah. So do you remember when you really could make that distinction between joy and happiness, when that kind of formalized for you in your mind?
I can promise you, for me, it was not in college.
Was it in a submarine?
No, I don't think so. And I'd have to consider it. I mean, I don't know for sure. Maybe when my first child was born. Maybe on my wedding day. And those things happened in the context of my faith. I mean, they weren't outside of my. I was already a believer and already. But it's a really good question. I just hadn't considered it.
Well, as far as faith development, that's what made me wonder.
Yeah, I can't speak to a particular point, but for me, I think it was coming from a very different place than some do, and maybe this would speak to some people that are listening. But I grew up. I had a very, very difficult upbringing, even though it was middle class. It was still alcoholic family and all the things that go with that. And for me, the result was a numbing. So it wasn't that I was up and down. It's that I was, in the zone.
Yeah.
And so, and fortunately for me, Christ came alive to me very, very, in my teens. And so I've had a long time for that to develop. And so it was moving from numbness to joy. And then from the place of joy, you start, because when you get to that point, you start feeling the pains too. You can't just choose one. They come together.
Right.
But there was then a capacity to sort out the things and put them in a perspective. So I think I came from a different angle, and there are probably some others that can speak to that too.
Yeah.
I wonder how that intersects with the gospel and the bearing our cross, and where suffering, what's the intersection between joy, as we were talking about it, and suffering, and that's probably one of the reasons why Peter didn't understand what Jesus was talking about, is because, like you were saying, Michael, that he had this idea, a wrong idea about what the Messiah the character of the Messiah was supposed to be.
Right.
And so he's, trying to, he has a different understanding of the fact that when we actually follow Christ, we can expect a certain amount of suffering as well. But as we've said, also so much joy.
So to save one's life, we must lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's I know that all three of us have explored the contemplative world a little bit, and so when we get to that place beyond duality, where we come to unity, all this begins to sort out, because the great enemy is our ego in all of this, and our ego asserts itself. It's not our true self; it's our false self. It's not bad self. It's just not really who we are. And so when I teach on the Enneagram, what we're trying to discover is who we really are, not this personality we've taken on to get through the world. And that's a good thing to do. I mean,
you have to do that.
You have to do that
to begin your life and build
important,
something.
So we don't want to destroy that. We want to broaden it out. But once we take on the discipline of Christ. It starts with putting the ego in its place, and it feels like death. It feels like a death. But Jesus knew very well the other side of that was truly who we are, who God created us before the foundation of the world to be, where we really want to be. But the only way to do that is to sort that out.
Yeah.
The only way. And so it feels like a death, but it's really it's truly a rebirth. It's a resurrection.
Transformation.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I think that part of this gospel is tricky for people. I think they're not sure, some people, what to make of it. What does it mean to lose my life? And you've started to unpack that for us. You used the word non-duality. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, sort of our natural default is to put ourselves or anybody else in an oppositional position, that we related to them. And that's how we come to developing our personality in the first place, is reacting to particular things. So all of life can be a reaction to things, but the true self is in the middle, and so the non-duality is in contemplative prayer. Contemplative prayer is very good at this, of allowing us to relax those things and come to the center and meet, because otherwise our relationship with God is in duality too. It's that God's the punisher and we're the punished, or even loved or be the one or the lover, But the truth is that mutual love, that place of unity, no matter what the aspects are. So even in a relationship with God, it needs to come to a place of unity in the center. And so, but that's it's such a big part of the Christian life, and it may be happening and we don't realize it is, or maybe we don't know that's part of the journey, a path we can take, and that's where that true self lies, is right there. Yeah.
Thank you. What about this bit at the end, the promise of glory, and the idea that when he's saying that in the future, some here today may not. Well, let me go back to it so that I don't misquote it. Truly, I tell you, there are some standing here who will not taste death before they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. So do you think that relates to the transfiguration at all?
I think without question.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's the way that it's usually read, especially by lay people. But I think he's talking about Peter, James, and John, who are going to shortly see what's coming, and that's enough. I mean, I think it's once you understand the story and what Jesus is doing, I think it makes perfect sense, at least to me, because I used to, before I understood that, say, well, what does that mean? I mean, does that mean that some people are going to die? I just didn't understand it at all. And so like anything, I could be wrong. And as I've said, again, from the pulpit, any good Anglican theologian will say, this is what I think, but I could be wrong, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah.
A place of letting the ego lay at rest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we maybe with the way this is translated, it almost sounds like it's very, very future.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I think it's more like Jesus saying, in your lifetime, you're going to see this.
Yeah.
It's not like it's some prophetic, projection
Right.
there. And I think it gets us off track because if we think that the glory is way down the road, we will miss it now because it is here.
Yeah.
Right.
And as we've said already, it's already here.
Yes.
And that's the Christian life, is opening to that, experiencing that, taking those risks so we can experience it.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it would be a real shame to live my whole life only looking towards heaven. Of course,
Right.
I look towards being in the full presence of God. But I experience in this church and in this community some glorious moments of community where I see God radiantly present.
Right.
So I want to see that now too and experience it.
Yeah, I think that's when we consider those things, that it's one of the things that makes me sad for other parts of what I call the Christian family tree, when it's all about the Christian life is all about getting into heaven and making sure that I'm going to be there, and so they forget what you both have said, which is that the glory of God is right in front of us right now, and that we don't have to wait for heaven because it's all around us right now. I mean, it's the already and the not yet, right? But I think some parts of our Christian family tree emphasize what comes next, and that's a real loss, I think, sadly.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think that might be a good place for us to close our talk today. I really appreciate y'all unpacking this with me, and to end on the glory of God present in our world today, even with all the other stuff going on, is a great place for us to close, I think.
Agreed.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Pleasure.